It's December 15th, 2022. We're here at the Piles Center. This is Michelle Hirsch with Linda Spears. Thank you so much for being with us in Connected Tempe.
You're welcome.
And so we like to start the questions with the easy ones. When and where were you born?
I was born in Tucson a long time ago.
And what either brought your family or you to Tempe?
I came to Tempe to attend ASU and never left. So,
And what did you study at ASU?
I was a business major and studying accounting and became a CPA and practiced for over 50 years as a certified public accountant.
And can you tell us like maybe the neighborhood or the cross streets? Like what was your first neighborhood in Tempe? Where did you live?
Well, I lived in the dorm.
Oh, okay.
I lived in Manzanita Hall on the 13th floor for 3 years. And then my senior year, my sister was a sophomore, and so my mother decided it would be cheaper if we got someplace to live that was not the dormitory. So we had a family friend give us a 10 by 52 mobile home, and we moved into Pony Acres, which was on Apache Boulevard just east of McClintock. And we lived there for 5 years because after I graduated and went to work, my sister decided to go to law school. So there was a little support involved there for a few more years. So from Pony Acres, we moved to a new townhouse development on Priest and Southern. And before there was, the 60 was in, but just barely in at that point. So before all the development there. From there we moved to the old neighborhood behind the post office. And now I live in the Walled Villas, the Shalimar. So.
Oh, okay. And do you mean the post office that's there, like College?
College and Southern.
Okay. Yeah. And can you tell us a little bit about family, like your parents and maybe where they were from?
Well, and so my parents were actually, both my parents were born in Missouri and moved around a little bit, but they were in Tucson when I was born, and then my father passed away when I was young. So we were in the Welton Mohawk Valley in southwestern Arizona. I went to Antelope Union High School, Mohawk Valley Grade School, and so my mom lived there until her death. She was 91 when she passed away. But then when we were we lived in Tacna, a little town, Tacna, which you pass going to San Diego. And then we built a new house for her at the base of Antelope Mountain. So if you're driving to San Diego, you see a mountain off to the your right with a big A on it. And she was right at the base, we built right at the base of that mountain for her. So
nice. And you mentioned a sister. Did you have just one sibling?
Now I have one. There were 4 girls in my family.
Oh.
We were the oops babies, so we were quite a bit younger than my other two sisters. So,
and so you go to ASU and you graduate and you start practicing as a CPA, accountant and CPA. And in what ways did you get involved in the city?
When I first started working, I went to work for a national accounting firm, CPA firm, and so they encourage their people to get involved in the community because that's how you develop business. So my first involvement in Tempe was as a big sister, and so I did that for several years, and then.
And for some people that don't know what Big Sister is that where you're kind of mentoring a
young girl.
Okay.
And it's now combined. At the time they were separate, Big Brothers, Big Sisters. Big Brothers is an organization at the time that paired young males with adults for mentoring. And typically there was no father in the house, no father figure. Big Sisters, there typically is a mother in the house, and so it was challenging. At the time, the little sisters were referred from the schools and court systems. So it was a different experience for me to suddenly be involved with someone from that kind of background. But then I got involved with a domestic violence group, and so it was called DOVE, Diversion of Violent Emotions, and we worked with the perpetrators through court orders, and so doing rehabilitation training. So I did that for a while, and then I really started getting involved in community efforts. I joined the Tempe Chamber of Commerce, I joined the Kiwanis Club of Tempe, and it just kind of steamrolled from there. So
Now, you've been involved in Kiwanis for a long time.
I was the first female president of the Kiwanis Club of Tempe.
Wow.
So that was in 1991.
And for those 20, 30 years from now, or maybe that might be watching and still don't know, what does Kiwanis do? What is their mission, or what do you do in Kiwanis?
Kiwanis International is an international service organization, and specifically working with youth. And so we've worked with Boys and Girls Club. It's also Tempe Boys and Girls Club and East Valley Boys and Girls Club board members. But we work with kids, and we do reading in kindergarten classes.
Cool.
With students. We do all kinds of community events. So the big one is we started I was on the council from 1994 to 98. So in 1994, the Convention Bureau decided to start the Fantasy of Lights in downtown Tempe. And so at the time, Neil Giuliano was mayor, and I asked Neil, I said, why don't we do a light parade? He said, okay, do it. So so we started the light parade, and I got Kiwanis Club involved. And so the light parade that we just had is the 26th annual parade.
See, and I think that's so fantastic that people and families and community members that go to that today, don't realize how long it's been going on and who, helped
And they can
start it.
still see me, because I'm usually the crazy person running up and down making sure people are doing what they're supposed to do.
Well, if anybody would know, it would be you that would know who's supposed to be doing what. So your run for council, 1994, what inspired that? Not everybody runs for council.
Right. I was pretty involved in the community at that time, serving on several boards and commissions, and I had gone through Tempe leadership. I was class 7, and people encouraged me to do it. Said, well, why don't you do this? And it's like, oh, okay. And everybody said, well, but don't worry, just go ahead and run. You're not going to win, but run. So then the next time when you run in 2 years, you'll have the name recognition. So I ran and I won.
Yay!
So spent 4 years on the council. I was on the council that approved the development of the town lake, which proved to be part of my undoing, because I did not win re-election because the candidates that did win took exception to wasting resources damming the lake and building it, because it was a folly to do that. So
hindsight or history.
it has not been a folly. So.
And you mentioned that Mayor Giuliano was mayor when you served. Do you recall who else was on council when you were?
Carol Smith and Ben Arredondo and I were all elected. So Carol was re-elected. Ben and I were elected for the first time. Joe Spricali, Dennis Cahill, and Joseph Lewis were all. So.
And in addition, or besides Tempe Town Lake, were there any other significant memories or either challenges or fun times that you recall from council?
One of my interest is, and still is development and what the city looks like. And so it was during my term on council that we developed the general plan 2020, and it was the first time I chaired the committee that did that, and it was the first time we had citizen involvement in that process. And it's now required by law. You have to have a citizen committee, but I requested and had permission to create a committee to do that. So there were special zoning so we have something in Tempe called CEPTED, which is crime prevention through environmental design. that ordinance was drafted under my committee, and it's PAD, which is a planned area development, which means you go in with your plan and basically the rules all go away and your plan gets voted on. So that was also in mind. So that's what I'm really excited that I had a hand in
So
doing.
PAD means planned area development. Sometimes regular everyday people will drive down the street and see the signs that say PAD, but some of us don't know what it means. So.
Planned area development.
So that leads to a question we like to ask, and that is, how have you seen Tempe change, whether it's neighborhoods or development? Maybe there's some favorite stores, restaurants, places that you went to for recreation or entertainment that aren't there anymore, or ones that are there now that you enjoy.
Well, I'll talk a little bit about Mill Avenue, because Mill Avenue redevelopment had started actually under Mayor Mitchell. And that's where they started moving out all the old businesses, some of the industrial or automotive uses, things like that. And so it became a grand success, and it actually today, kind of the decline is a result of that success, because what happened was they effectively, because the rents went up so high, that mom and pop shops got priced out of the market, and banks want to lend to landlords who have credit-worthy tenants, which means chains. So Mill Avenue went from being kind of the hub for mom and pop to these big corporate enterprises. And then as leases expire, then they have moved on, and now we're kind of back, it looks like, on Mill Avenue to a rebuilding process. And so that's challenging, but it's also exciting to see the new development there. And the fact that one of the things we always wanted for downtown was 24-hour living. And so not just people coming downtown to work, not just to eat, but that would actually be down there, live down there. So it's exciting to see the amount of residential that's down there. It's exciting to see the public transportation that's down there. So I really look forward to seeing those things continue. The modern streetcar, which hopefully Coyote's entertainment district will be approved, and which will then help foster the further development of the transit system.
So you've stayed informed and interested in development, even decades beyond being on council.
I currently serve on the Development Review Commission.
Oh, there you go.
So
yeah,
as a volunteer.
Yeah, and so what do you have any favorite restaurants, or where do you go for fun in Tempe, or entertainment?
When I can get in, I like Four Peaks, and very difficult to get in. But I love the little neighborhood places. In my neighborhood, we have Kung Fu Ramen, great little ramen shop. I like Sake Bomber, which is a great little sushi restaurant. So I'm really drawn to kind of mom and pop. Rosita's, I still love Rosita's. I like to go out of Tempe to the stockyards.
It's not too far out.
It's not too far out.
And do you have some special memories of Tempe? You have so many significant involvement in the community, but whether it's with family or friends or things that have happened. I mean, you mentioned the, is it Fiesta of Lights?
Fantasy of Lights.
Thank you, Fantasy of Lights. So that's something to look forward to every year. But Tempe has some wonderful events, and
Right.
What is it that you enjoy?
I used to like the Tillman Run. It's too big now, but I think that doing things at the lake. I mean, there are all kinds of active doing things at the art center. I love going to theater, so I like going to the Tempe Art Center, the ASU, going to Gamage, and I like doing the spooky sprint at the Y. There are just lots of local things that are And I'm involved in the community, so there are a lot of things I'm doing as part of Kiwanis or, Tempe Tarts or,
And what is Tempe Tarts?
Tempe Tarts is our bunco group.
Oh, okay.
But it's about, I think the total group size is probably 35 or 40. And it's women who are connected in Tempe very deeply through politics or social services or whatever. So we had our Christmas party last night, and we do a gift exchange, but we also raise money so we charge people to come. So we raised about $1,000 for the Assistance League of the East Valley.
Wow.
And collected hoodies for the Threads program through the Tempe Union High School District. So.
And can you tell us what Threads is? It's the high school.
It's a store for high school students, but there are no prices. So they get to go in, and it looks like a store. They get to pick out whatever they want. It's new and gently used clothing, so it's a great asset.
And I think, if I'm correct, that was a project of a Tempe leadership class.
It was, yeah.
So you said you were in class 7. Do you recall what your project was?
Yeah. So our class was the only class that took 3 years to complete the project, because when the 202 was built, it cut off the area between Apache and University from any park. So we created a pocket park that was actually, we had a tri-party government agreement. It was the City of Phoenix, or the City of Tempe, Maricopa County, and Salt River Project. It took us 3 years to get the project completed. And it's basically a water turnout for irrigation, but we put in some picnic tables and tiled the turnout. And so we were a little overachieving as a group. So they now have the requirement, you have to complete your project in a year.
Well, that's such a fantastic organization. I don't know if they're up to class 30-something.
30-something,
yeah.
36 or 37.
And so each class does a project, but also has the opportunity to gain leadership skills. And is there anything else you'd like to say about Tempe leadership?
Probably the best thing about it is the classes are oriented to teach you about Tempe, because we have so many people who are from here, who are transplants from here, and it's a good way to get involved and learn what's going on with social services, what's going on with government, what's the medical field, the high-tech field, the fire department. I mean, so the classes are all designed to really introduce you to those kinds of things, and then if you're lucky, you develop lifelong friendships out of that. So
yeah, we hear so many stories of people that do have lifelong friendships, and like you said, they learn about every department of the city and get a behind the scenes and hands-on kind of experiences. So have you traveled outside of the state much?
Yeah.
And so we like to ask people, when you have traveled other places, how do those places compare to Tempe in the feeling of, you've stayed here, so this is a place that you obviously love, but what do you notice as far as differences in Tempe compared to other places you may have traveled?
Usually what happens, I go to places over and over again, so like I go to New York City, or I go to Chicago or San Francisco, and what I tend to do is stay in a small area, kind of like I do in Tempe. So it's not like you're in a huge city. It's kind of, but again, I'm looking at the same thing there. I'm looking at design. I'm looking at transit. Mom and pop shops, things like that. So.
And are there some other ways that you feel connected to Tempe that we haven't talked about? I mean, you have so many, between council and so many deep roots in Tempe, and Kiwanis, and Boys and Girls Club, and but are there other ways that you feel connected to Tempe that I haven't asked you about?
Well, interestingly, when I first talked to you, I believe I said I didn't know why you were talking to me, because I had no roots in Tempe. I don't have family here. And then I did the Connected Tempe and found out I'm related to the Mitchells and the Camages, and so I mean, that's interesting too.
That is so interesting.
And not just that, it's not just that kind of relation, but the people I've met through being involved in the government or through Kiwanis. Alfred Thomas Jr. is one of my best friends, and I didn't think about it at the time, but I went back and looked at my diploma, and he was the registrar at ASU, so he had signed my diploma. And then when I became the president of Kiwanis Club, he painted my portrait. So it's those kind of connections.
Yeah. Oh, what wonderful connections. And have you noticed attitudes towards cultural diversity have changed in Tempe? And
I think
do you have any thoughts on that?
because of the university, it's probably, Tempe's always been a little more liberal than maybe some of our sister cities. What I'm seeing now, though, is kind of the backlash against homelessness, and the thought that, this is somehow the city should be able to do something about it because, these people are a threat or whatever, and not trying to, as a human race, think about, what's behind it. Why is it suddenly so much more apparent than it was? And that's probably where I've seen the biggest change in attitudes. The NIMBYism also, just kind of, oh yeah, that's a great project, but I don't want it in my neighborhood. I think that belongs over there. And I think that it's kind of hard for me to reconcile that. It's kind of let's get big picture and figure out what's best for everyone, and we don't always do that.
Now there's, I want to back up just a little bit because it's fun to ask people what activities or extracurricular things you were involved in junior high or high school. And were you involved in anything particular that you enjoyed in high school or earlier, elementary?
I was involved in all kinds of things. So in high school, I was in the pep club. I tried out for cheerleader but didn't make it, so I was in the pep club. I was in Spanish club. We performed Cinderella at the grade school, and I got to be Cinderella because she had the fewest speaking parts. I could read Spanish really well. I cannot speak it. I was National Honor Society. I was in Future Homemakers of America and was a state officer. I don't even know. It's a long time ago, but we worked with children with Down syndrome. We did preschool activities. I was the most obnoxious fundraiser around. People turned around when they saw me coming down the street. They still do that today. But so I've just always been involved. I don't know why. It's just something that I do.
And is there something that you're particularly proud of when you think of Tempe or you talk about Tempe to other people? Are there things that you're proud of about the city?
Openness of government, citizen participation, generally forward thinking, and they care about their community. I mean, even when people oppose things, they're doing it because they care about their neighborhoods or whatever. I may not agree with them, but.
Now, I'm so glad you brought this book that you're holding. It's Tempe Then and Now, and I believe it was published in 2010.
Correct.
And exactly what it is, Tempe Then and Now, at least up till 2010. And there's some wonderful photographs and history about Tempe. Can you tell us what led to that collaboration? And
so Fred Wildfang, who's a close friend of mine, lives in Colorado, has done several of these books. And so he said, Linda, we need to do one of these in Tempe. It's like, okay. So one of my hobbies is photography. So he went and we started looking. He came to the History Museum, going through photographs, and we found the stories. And so we went on to every location that we have featured in here to take the Then and Now books. some of the thens I remember from back in the day, but a lot of them we really had to work at trying to get exactly the same locations. And it's difficult, obviously, because not everything is the same. And for instance, the old rural school was completely gone. And so trying to figure out where things were in relation to the old photographs. But it was a great, it was a really fun project to get to go back and look at historically what had happened in Tempe. And we got Harry Mitchell to write the foreword for us, and it was just a great effort to do that. So,
And that can either be found at the Tempe History Museum, or where else did we discover?
Walgreens.
Walgreens have it. It sometimes is at Borders in Tempe. I believe it's available on Amazon.
Yeah, very exciting and a fun. Whether you want to read about or you love photos,
Right.
it serves both.
Right.
And is there, well, does spirituality play any specific role in your life?
Human spirit is I think important for everyone, and I think it's something that we should all be practicing on a regular basis. The golden rule.
Yeah, and it definitely comes through in your service to the community and how much you care about Tempe, that's part of your heart. What led to you wanting to, one, go to ASU? We're happy you did. There's a lot of Sun Devil fans here. But what led you to ASU instead of like U of A, for example?
Yeah.
And what led you to business and accounting?
When I was a junior, I was in the Model UN representing Malta, and that was held in Tucson at U of A campus. And so then my senior year, I just took a trip to ASU and walked around campus, and I got scholarships from both of them. And so it was, I just decided I really liked the small town, kind of downtown Tempe, and U of A at the time, to me, didn't seem as community.
Mm-hmm.
The shopping wasn't, we had the little, Tempe Center, I think it was called, with the grocery store and the little dress shops and everything around. And so that's really why I chose it. And then
business and accounting.
So I loved math. And so I was trying to figure out what I could do with math, and knew I did not want to teach, and so decided I would go into accounting because that was the next best thing. The mistake I made is I should have gone into architecture, but I didn't. And so I went to work before women's equal rights, and one of the big 8 firms that I interviewed with told me I was a cute little girl, but to forget about, I should find something else to do, that I probably couldn't make it as a certified public accountant. So I'm proud to have been in the profession for over 50 years.
Yes, excellent. And it's probably a little bit shocking for young women today to hear that,
Right.
because young women today think they can go into any field, and they can.
They can.
But we certainly know people that felt they could only be teachers or secretaries, right. Or, I think even Sandra Day O'Connor and Ruth Bader Ginsburg talk about not being able to go into the areas
right.
of law that they wanted to initially. Is there anything related to living, working, enjoying Tempe that you want to share that I didn't ask you about? People you've worked with, collaborated with?
I think that, just Tempe has allowed me to be exposed to different ideas, different cultures, different backgrounds, and has allowed me to play in the same field with those individuals. And I think that still exists today. I think that anyone can get involved in their community by joining a service organization. Kiwanis happened to work for me. Rotary works for some. There are all kinds of things. Diablos. There are lots of civic groups in Tempe that will welcome you and allow you to accomplish personal goals in addition to serving the community. So I think that's something to be open to. Certainly experience things like Tempe Leadership. It's a small group, but it's a great training program, and again, great resource in terms of people you're going to meet, and just volunteer, get involved. Go to the library, go to whoever. The city uses volunteers throughout, and apply for a board and commission. Anyone can do that. You go online, see what you're interested in. It can be the Parks and Recs, it can be bicycle committee, but get involved.
Excellent. And we took a look at the book, perfect. And I don't have any other questions, but a lot of times other people have questions, so we open it up in case they want to ask something.
So this is Dwayne Roan asking this question. You gave a wonderful list of ways of how to get involved in the community, but if I'm a young person thinking about my future, why should I get involved in the community?
Because it's a great resume builder. It shows that you're committed not to just punching a clock and being there from 9 to 5, that you're interested in doing other things, and I think employers appreciate that. So for young people, that's certainly a good reason. Financially, it can be a burden, and so try and find things that don't cost money. There are no due structures. And again, that's getting involved in city boards and commissions and that kind of thing.
And let's say I'm a little older and my resume is built out as much as I need it to be built out at the moment. So I'm, let's say, 40 years old. Why should I get involved in the community?
At some point in time, if you don't need them now, you will need them later. That's friends.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Sorry about that.
Thank you.
And it's really been fun for me to mention to people that I was interviewing you, because so many people talked about how they were your friend and how much they value you, and so I can see why you get teared up, because you have close friendships in Tempe and you've met those friends through your involvement.
Right.
And I had lunch today with one of your old friends, Judy Todd. She used to publish a magazine, Tempe Magazine, and she talked about how they were struggling, and you came in and saved the day at one point, and she couldn't have kept going without your help. So your, it could be handprint, I like to call them heart prints, but your involvement has so many impacts throughout the city, from city council to community service, volunteering, your connections with friends, and still caring about the city so much. So we so appreciate you coming and talking with us, sharing some of your Tempe connections and stories, and it's just been a pleasure to talk with you. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.